The Milwaukee Brewers' winning streak is over. After 14 games, I was in Milwaukee last week. Everyone was talking about the hometown team. Now, in one of the more visible marketing campaigns, the George Webb restaurant chain will be handing out free burgers this Wednesday at all locations in Wisconsin. The chain had a promotion for free burgers if the team won 12 consecutive games, which it did, and it marked the third time in franchise history that this will be the case. This offer has been active from George Webb restaurants since the 1940s. So everyone who shows up Wednesday can receive one free burger, and if you're curious, the chain has 23 locations, almost entirely in the Milwaukee area. Any guess on how many burgers they will hand out on Wednesday? Let me know. And this is your morning Buzzcast for Monday, August 18th. I'm Abe Madcorp. On Sunday, I wrote a note to a couple of individuals behind the new Netflix docuseries Any Given Saturday, which is centered around SEC football. I'm about 5 episodes in, and I really enjoy it. And I shared with them how much I've learned about players and coaches that I knew very little about. It's been fun hearing the personal and professional journeys of the coaches and players and seeing the love of SEC football from fans in the region. I think it's one of the better box-to-box productions in some time. A few of the recent ones I found a bit lacking, but this is really worth your time. It debuted in the top 10 of Netflix most viewed shows when it dropped last week. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey noted the show is giving the conference exposure beyond its traditional footprint. He noted the show is performing well outside the U.S. and especially in Canada and Ireland. Who would have thought? I think it's about the best marketing the SEC could ask for. Campus life is seen as full of energy, and the images are incredibly compelling. Sankey said there is an opportunity to do a second season next year. 10 of the conference's 16 schools participated in the debut effort. Sankey, of course, hopes more will be involved in season 2. Again, it's been really educational, and it has outside commentary. It showcased the passion, the personalities, and even the intricacies of college football. I would certainly recommend it. If you've watched it, let me know your thoughts. So another show I am looking forward to watching is the Netflix special America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys. That is an 8-part series on the Cowboys and owner Jerry Jones that starts on Tuesday of this week. Netflix reportedly paid $50 million for the rights. Jerry Jones sat for 40 hours of interviews. The show also includes extensive interviews with the likes of Jimmy Johnson and Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin. I've heard the Jones family, wife Jean, and Jerry's children, Stephen, Charlotte, and Jerry Jr., all show well with great stories. The early reviews have been solid, and this show will get a lot of my attention because I find Jerry Jones and his ownership to be one of the most important stories of the last 30 years in sports business. When I started at Sports Business Daily in 1994, it was right during that time when Jerry Jones was doing so many revolutionary things around the business of sports. That's why I feel he's been one of the seminal figures in the last 3 decades in sports business. That's why I'll certainly be watching America's Team on Netflix. Let's move on. A big sponsorship deal and success story for NASCAR. SBJ's Adam Stern reported that the series has reached a multi-year deal with O'Reilly Auto Parts to become the new title sponsor for NASCAR's second-tier series beginning next year. Now, O'Reilly Auto Parts will replace Xfinity. They had been the title sponsor for the past 11 years, and while terms were not disclosed, we know that NASCAR went into the effort seeking about $10 million a year in rights fees, plus a major commitment in activation. So now the series will become the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series starting January 1st. Now, Xfinity will continue as a major partner of NASCAR, just not entitlement of the series. So again, this is a big, big deal for NASCAR's Steve Phelps, Steve O'Donnell, and their new top commercial officer, Craig Stimmel. No, it's not a brand new company coming into the sport, but it's certainly a brand fit for NASCAR. They love the connection between O'Reilly Auto Parts and the sport, and you don't want such high-profile inventory to remain open for very long. This is validation as to the appeal and commercial interest in NASCAR in landing such a deal with O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's do naming rights for 100, please. Well, here we go. The home of the 76ers and Flyers venue in Philadelphia is now officially the Xfinity Mobile Arena, as branding was changed late last week to reflect the new name. It will no longer be the Wells Fargo Center, signage of Wells Fargo not visible anymore. There will be an opening or an official ceremony in September, and this new naming rights deal will last through 2031, when a new venue, shared by the 76ers and Flyers, is set to open in South Philadelphia. Now let's go back. Who can remember all the names of this venue? It should have been called, or could have been called, Spectrum 2, but it opened in 1996 as the Core State Center. Then it was called the First Union Center, or some refer to it as the FU Center. Then it was called the Wachovia Center, then the Wells Fargo Center. Wells Fargo Center now is the Xfinity Mobile Arena. A lot of name changes to the Philadelphia Arena, now called Xfinity Mobile Arena. Let's shift to the WNBA, a big night for the W over the weekend, as nearly 16,000 watched the Dream play the Storm in the WNBA's first regular season game outside the U.S. It was played at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. Of course, next year, the Toronto Tempo are set to join the W as an expansion team, and it was announced that the Tempo will play 2 regular season games in Vancouver next season. And one of the elements I'm keeping my eye on is how the WNBA CBA negotiations proceed, and what, if any, response will be from the rival league Unrivaled. Well, SBJ's Tom Friend reported over the weekend that Unrivaled is looking to create more opportunity for players and could add 2 teams this upcoming season. Now, sources say the move is not entirely in response to the WNBA's labor negotiations, but let's be real, it could provide a way for 12 more players to be paid if a work stoppage does happen in the W next year. Now, Unrivaled is saying that they're looking at this opportunity because of the success of year 1. But let's be real here. This is potentially an opportunity for Unrivaled to gain market share at the expense of the WNBA if there are upcoming labor woes facing that league. It was really interesting being on a panel last week in Milwaukee with Wisconsin Athletic Director Chris McIntosh, who outlined how they were intending to share revenue across sports. It's something all athletic directors are wrestling with. Here's the plan at the University of North Carolina. Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham unveiled the school's revenue sharing percentages, saying that a majority of the revenue will be split between football, which will get 65% of the revenue, and men's basketball, which will get 35%, with baseball and women's basketball receiving the rest. Now, the school will continue to sponsor 28 teams, which is a big number, and Bubba Cunningham said they will focus on continuing to offer a great experience to all athletes. But when it came to sharing revenue, the focus was on sharing revenue with the athletes and the sports that generated the revenue. And surely North Carolina is not alone in that mindset and approach. Most athletic directors I've spoken with said they will share the revenue with the sports that generate the most revenue. And finally, we'll end with this. Live Golf, big hit in Indianapolis over the past weekend. It will likely become the highest attended event for a U.S. stop in the 3-year history of Live Golf. Over 50,000 tickets were sold for the weekend. Friday and Saturday pretty much selling out. Live is already planning a return for next year. So here are the 4 takeaways from today's Buzzcast. First, NASCAR scores a big title sponsor of its secondary series with O'Reilly Auto Parts, and it could be seen as a move by the sport to stay true to its roots. 2, the breakdown of revenue sharing on college campuses will largely go to the sports that generate the revenue. Obviously, over-indexing on football and basketball, but in some schools, perhaps softball and volleyball receiving revenue. 3, shows on Netflix that should be in your watching queue any given Saturday, and America's Gambler. And finally, yes, college football is back this Saturday in Dublin, Ireland, Iowa State, Kansas State. That headlines the first slate of games, college football, back on Saturday. And so that is your morning Buzzcast for Monday, August 18th. I'm Abe Madcore. Thanks for listening. Stay healthy. Be good to each other. I'll speak to you on Tuesday.